What's up, everybody? KleverKrok back with a new series for GTA, aka Gentlemen's Training Association, related content. However, it is not restricted just to the GTA by any means. And this is not technically something like that I originally came up with, but I've been wanting to talk about different Pokemon in the draft format for a while and just talk about if they're viable and how they're being used and how well they can be used, and really kind of base it on three different things of flexibility, predictability, and historical usage specifically for the GTA. But in general, I think that it would be really cool to, each video I put these out on be on a specific Pokemon and just kind of talk about where I think they're at, give them a specific grade. The grade goes S being, let me get the list, S being Premier Draft Format, Premier 4 Draft Format Pokemon. Overall good usage would be A. B would be commonly used, but not as strong as in other formats. C is somewhat used, occasionally outstanding. D would be not often used and rarely outstanding. And F would be not used or shouldn't be used. So this is all my opinion, just as many people say when they do analysis videos. This is really just kind of from what I've seen, what I think works, and feel free to disagree and prove me wrong. However, I will base some of this stuff based on how things have played out in the past, as well as facts based on statistics, their moves, their abilities, all stuff like that, things that people need to think about when drafting. So I hope that, my goal is that people will watch these videos and think about these different Pokemon and be like, I didn't know that they could be used this way, or I didn't know that they could be thought about that way, or I didn't know that they could be exploited this way. Things that both good and bad people need to be aware of when they draft them so that they can build a stronger lineup around Pokemon, especially like Pokemon that you see right here, Charizard. Specifically, we're going to be talking a lot more about Mega Charizard X and Y. But some Pokemon you will draft, whether it's your Mega or another one, and it will be a really strong Pokemon, and typically it'll be an OU or a UU Pokemon or one of the allowed Ubers. When you draft something that's strong, and it's usually your first or second pick, you really want to build around it, meaning you want, for example, if you get Charizard, it's really weak to rock. This is just speaking of the base form, but still, it's really weak to rock. It comes in on Stealth Rocks, loses half its health. It takes any sort of Rock Slide or Stone Edge, it's gone because it's not super defensive by any means, especially on the physical side. So, knowing that, you should probably get some sort of strong steel type that can resist those things, something maybe like a grass type for those water attacks, so on and so forth. And it's not just about typing, it's also about having Pokemon that can take hits for them. So Charizard doesn't have a good physical defense, so it can't really always live a strong physical attack, whether it's super effective or not, or just normal, like normal damage, neutral. So it's just things that you need to think about when drafting in the future. And also, I hope for anybody who's using this Pokemon or any Pokemon that I do in these videos at this point in time when they're watching it, whether it's in Season 3 when I'm currently recording this of the GTA, or in the future seasons, that they either think about drafting this with these considerations, or they have this Pokemon and they know what things they need to watch out for. And I'm hoping that this gets people thinking a little bit more about those, things and what they need to really prepare for. So anyways, that's all of my rambling to start. So we'll go ahead and dive in. Charizard is a Pokemon, I think it's in the RU tier. Could be in U for all I know. I don't really use base Charizard ever. But base Charizard has a solid base stat total of 534, which is pretty good. It's got decent speed, decent special attack, and it's relatively frail on most other cases. I would say that drafting base Charizard isn't a terrible move by any means. but usually people are going to go, since we have the unique clause in drafting for the GTA specifically, you can't draft, or someone can't draft Charizard X or Charizard Y and then another person draft base Charizard or the other Charizard Mega. Once Charizard is drafted as either base Charizard, Mega Charizard X, or Mega Charizard Y, Charizard is off the table. So we're going to kind of talk about more related to the Megas now. So, like I said, decent stats, not terrible by any means, but not super strong when considering most of the other format. So it has Blaze and Solar Power. Blaze increases its fire attacks when it's at low health. Solar Power is only used, it's basically Life Orb without the item, like the Life Orb bonus in damage when Sun is out, and you also still take the, the damage that you would as if you had a Life Orb. So I would say when you consider Mega Charizard X and Y, the base abilities for Charizard don't really help all that much for X and Y, because you have Pokemon like Mega Pinsir who has Moxie and Hyper Cutter, so it comes in, it can get a kill potentially with like a quick attack, and get a +1 in attack, which means plus 1.5 or times 1.5 the attack stat of that Pokemon. So, like that's important to know. So like Charizard, you don't want to, if you bring it in on something, which you shouldn't bring it in on something that's going to hit it hard, but if you bring it in on something, you should know that if it's not Mega Evolved, it's first of all, it's still not going to take the hit very well, but second of all, like, there's nothing that you really gain from staying non-Mega form. So, yeah, I would just say that, like, when you draft Charizard, it's probably best to go ahead and use the X or Y, because they're both so good. So good. But, yeah, so we've got those. It's Fire Flying, which, like I said, is super weak to Rock. It does take some damage, a decent amount of damage from Electric and Water. But anyways, we'll go ahead and talk about Mega Charizard X. Charizard X, all Megas, most Megas, I should say, get a plus 100 bonus to their base stat total. And you can see that Charizard X is very much like more balanced than what we'll see in Charizard Y. Charizard X has a solid special attack, a good defense, same speed, same special defense, and same HP. So it's a lot bulkier. It hits a lot harder and has the ability Tough Claws, which we'll look at real quick. Tough Claws gives a power to moves that make contact, like Flare Blitz, like Fire Fang, like, what else? Dragon Claw, I believe even Outrage, potentially. Not Earthquake, even though that's a physical attack, it doesn't make contact. So, it'll say in the description, oh, this move makes contact or whatever. So, good to know. I say that based on historical usage, which we'll take a look at here now, is Charizard is number 3 in overall player records with 32 knockouts and 12 times it fainted, which is impressive because, let's see, it actually gained that over the course of 3 different seasons, being Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, not the monotypes. The ones who beat it, Cloyster has been in every season, so it had more opportunities to get kills, but it still, is got an impressive amount. Mega Gyarados is also pretty impressive for it's only been in 2 seasons and it's gotten that many kills. But Mega Charizard X has always, in every season I guess I should say, has always gone positive in its KD. It's got, let's see, currently in Season 3 it has 6 kills and 2 deaths. In Season 2 it had 14 kills and 6 deaths. And in Season 1 it had 12 kills and 4 deaths. And it was always solidly used. The problem with Mega Charizard X is that, you see these variations, you see this, you see that he gets bulkier, and Charizard obviously gets Dragon Dance. And what most people do, either go 3 moves and Roost, meaning like Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and Roost, or Dragon Dance, Roost, Flare Blitz, and Dragon Claw, and they just rampage. But the thing is, a lot of people tend to build bulkier, which means that it's not at its max, jolly speed of 328. It's usually lower, more like 280, 260s, something like that, so that it can invest more in its bulk and Dragon Dance up and still outspeed most things, and then hit hard and still be able to take hits pretty well, and then have recovery. So overall, it's a very strong mon. It does lose its flying type, which means that Earthquake hurts it pretty hard. I mean, it's only a 2-time super effective, but it's still not good. Dragon obviously hits it 2 times super effective. I think other than those two, Fairy's neutral because Fire's resistant. Water's neutral because Dragon's resistant. So in general, it's a much stronger typing than that. So you do gotta be careful if you switch in after there's rocks, because he will take 50% before you Mega Evolve it, but after it'll be 25%. But anyways, historically speaking, this Pokemon, despite the fact that people know it's being brought, despite the fact that it can take a lot of damage to rocks and stuff, and despite the fact that it's really predictable, in my opinion, it usually brings the same moves, it usually brings the same stuff, Dragon Dance and or Roost, and it always sweeps. It is hard to stop if you don't have the right answers, but I feel like that some of the problem is that you don't really know what to do. And in this case, I think what makes it a bit weaker in this format is because you know which Mega he's bringing. In Smogon, in Pokemon Showdown, for OU, when you bring Charizard, they don't know which Mega you have until you Mega Evolve it. So it could be Y or X, and I think that makes it really strong. However, in this format, you know that they're bringing X, you know what moves they're probably going to bring, and you know what weaknesses you have that he might want to exploit with his sweepers, specifically Charizard X. So, I guess I would say predictability is pretty predictable in my opinion. It's still good at what it does, so it definitely is, that's worth noting. I would say that there are some good counters, I don't want to say that this is a counter by any means, but having Tyrantrum use Head Smash on a Choice Scarf or Dragon Dance set or Focus Sash set will definitely one-shot Charizard X even if it's bulky. So that makes it pretty fair to have. But if you don't have Tyrantrum, obviously a solid ground type like Hippowdon or Donphan will probably force it to switch out. So there are some answers for it. I feel like there's more ways than people have tried to get rid of it. If you Thunder Wave it, even though it can hit hard, you can bring in something to finish it off. So if you paralyze it, it's in deep trouble. Obviously, it can't get burned because it's a fire type. And poisoning it, I don't think is the best thing, because then it can still take out, 1, 2, 3, 4, or all of your Mons before it gets knocked out, because it even has Roost to recover some of that poison damage. So I'm not sure that Toxic is the best thing. Usually Thunder Wave I would say would be good when facing this if you can. But yeah, I'd say it's predictable for the most part. It is good at what it does. As far as rolls go, it's Charizard X is definitely just a sweeper. It can be brought. I'm pretty sure it still gets defog. Let's look real quick. No, that's not what I wanted. Defog. It does get defog, so it can do hazard removal, but this guy's pretty much strictly a physical sweeper. It does, with the tough claws, it just hits so hard. But with the special attack also, it does have a good special attack stat. So it's very, very, very likely that, let's fix that. Okay. It's very likely that you could use this as a special attacker to catch people off guard, especially people who bring a Rocky Helmet Ferrothorn set, or bring in Garchomp with the Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin and stuff like that to wear it down. But I'm still not sure if that's the best choice per se. I'd say that it's best used as a physical attacker, even though it has the option to be special. It's not the best speed, but it's not bad, especially when it gets Dragon Dance. You can outspeed everything, pretty much, even as a bulky Charizard X. So, rolls, it's pretty limited, but it has some good stuff if you really needed to run it. In other ways, like I said, 100 base speed's a solid speed, but it's not super fast, so it's 328, and Pokemon who could really harm this thing would be like Latios and Latias, with their Draco Meteor, being able to probably one-shot it even in a bulky set. So I would say that, considering all that, Charizard is good at what it does in its X form, but it's pretty limited in what you could really use it as and what people would be willing to use it as. So, without any more rambling, I will say that it has been very successful at what it does because of being number 3 after 3 seasons of usage. Now we'll go ahead and talk about Charizard Y real quick. Now, unfortunately, nobody's used Charizard Y because since Charizard X has been used the 3 seasons, it was possible to be brought in because in the Monotype League, nobody drafted Fire-type or Flying-type, so Charizard was off the table. Charizard Y has not been seen yet, but with that Drought ability and with that ridiculous special attack, and it has a good special defense stat too, so it can eat up most water-type attacks. Like, with that Drought, it has water damage. It really hurts anything that wants to come in on it. Walls just get destroyed because Fire-type attacks do twice as much in the sun because Drought basically launches Sunny Day. So it's not a pleasant thing to fight. It gets Heat Wave, Fire Blast, Flamethrower. It does even get Will-O-Wisp, which Charizard X does too, but if you're worried about some physical sweepers that could come in and end your happiness, you could at least Will-O-Wisp it on the way down to have a good way to nerf it against your other Pokemon. It does get Roost. It does get pretty much all the same moves. So I would say it even gets Tailwind, which can be helpful for setup for other Pokemon. But I'd still say that Charizard Y, I honestly like better because it breaks walls, whereas Charizard X can, but it can also just get, like, when people set up on it, it gets Dragon Dance, people are going to try and set up with it. Encore can lock it into Dragon Dance, meaning it's just stuck using Dragon Dance for 5 turns, leaving it really vulnerable, so people will either switch out or try to stay in. Then you've also got Thunder Wave, which removes its usage almost completely because it loses that speed buff, whereas Charizard Y doesn't rely on setup to hit hard. It's its ability and its special attack stat without any sort of setup. That hits really hard, and I think that's valuable, is not having to rely on setup to hit really, really, really hard. Charizard Y I wouldn't say necessarily is the type of Pokemon that would sweep 6-0 or get 5 kills for that matter in one game, but it wears down the walls so that your other Pokemon can handle the other thing. And that's invaluable in a sweeper, is being able to break things like Chansey and Blissey and other things like that. Whereas Charizard X has the potential with Dragon Dance and its Tough Claws ability and its move pool to sweep 6-0, to get 5, to get 4 kills. It usually goes 1 for 1 when it's brought in matches and it enters the field. So, there's a pretty big difference in how you use it. Charizard's bulkier when in its X form, so you can run it that way. You can run it in a bulkier set like this, or let it just outspeed Cloyster, another 70 base stat speed Pokemon at 264, and then go for some defense investment or some attack investment, and use it in various ways, but it's still pretty predictable. Whereas Charizard Y, even if it's predictable, you give it Fire Blast or Flamethrower, or not Flame Burst, and then you give it Solar Beam, because in the sun it hits on the first turn, so it doesn't have to charge for a turn. You get Air Slash if you want, some more stab. You can get Roost, there's Will-O-Wisp, I think there's just more pressure that you put on them without having to take advantage of dead turns on their side to set up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say that even though Charizard Y hasn't been used, I'm going to give Charizard Y, just without seeing it all that much in the draft format, I'm going to give it a B+. And I would, again, if I saw somebody bring it one season and they showed it off and really did well with it, that would be great. The rocks are still really harmful to it since it maintains its original typing, so that kind of makes it a bit lower. I would say that Charizard X I'll probably give an A-, simply because it's been used so well and it's just constantly been a threat. Even though it's kind of one-dimensional, it still is good at what it does, and what it does is crush teams that aren't ready for it. So yeah, I'd say that that's probably where I'm going to leave it for this first time. B+ for Charizard Y, and A- for Charizard X. So that's it for this video, but next time we'll be talking about another Pokemon that's been used commonly in the UCL. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you all check it out when I upload that one. So see y'all later. Thanks for watching, guys. If y'all enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you want, subscribe for more videos. Hope to see y'all in the future, and thank you for watching.